All right, let's get to it. First reading back after a few days off. Now I am in reading mode. Waitlist is long. I got a month where I will probably not see anyone. So, this is my first. I wasn't gone, but my first reading during this period. I always like to come back to astrology when I've been away. So let's go ahead and see what's going on with this chart. I was at that first reading back. So Gemini eighth house. I was just talking about that. Interesting. My post. And fourth house. Wow, literally. Aquarius moon. So air and water houses. Very karmic. Very interesting. And then Scorpio rising. Mars in Aries as the ruler in the sixth. Venus on the descendant in Taurus. Okay, strong Venus. Very, very strong Venus. Moon square Pluto. Ooh la la. On aspect of Mercury. Okay. In Gemini. Might be a talker. Might be a big time talker. Although probably is with the Scorpio rising. Feel into the energy before you're not a loose cannon, but when you talk about things you're interested in, you can definitely go on for hours and hours and hours, which is really good for researching the occult, the esoteric, all kinds of things, anything to do with that whole life death rebirth, occult, esoteric, taboo, sexuality, all the eighth house stuff is going to be of interest to you. The stuff that most people are see as taboo or extra or too much or fake or whatever. The underground also, the mysteries of life is a good way of looking at it. And also your own internal shadow. But the fact that it's in Gemini is going to add a whole lot of lightness to it. But anyways, we'll get more of that. So Pluto rising, that's a huge part of your chart. That's like mega presence, mega presence. Huge aura, a dominant. You have to. I'll put my face back in. You have to kind of contend with being like. Let me turn my brightness off. Hold on. Just. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. So back to my face. So yeah, I mean, having a Gemini sun, Pluto rising in Scorpio, Pluto rising, descendant, same thing, with Gemini moon, the fourth house. So when you have your sun, your moon, the fourth house, yeah, you don't have any water planets besides you don't have any water for your sun and your moon. However, you do have water houses. So those are very, very karmic. They're about breaking down stuck emotional patterns, maybe karmic emotional patterns. And there's a whole section in a book I've read many times that speaks about the karmic implications of and I just talked about it like how in my post, like in signs of introverted person. Now 4th, 8th, 12th house, you have no 12th house, you have 4th and 8th, sun moon there, so it's going to be a real mix between and first of all, I guess you have this beautiful trine between your sun and your moon, 120 degrees away. That typically speaks about your father and mother having a good relationship, probably a nice marriage. Remember, it's not all the time, but basically that there would at least be a smooth energy between the two of them. Is a better way of putting it. Like they have similar worldviews. So when they combine and give you their worldviews, as we take a lot from our parents, it's not like some big contentious like difference between them. So any 8th house sun person, regardless of the sign, is going to be a deep thinker. They're going to go through. I have 8th house sun, by the way. They're going to be into things like astrology. They're going to be someone that goes through many death, rebirths, and transformations. They're the kind of people who, sexuality like might play a large role in their life. But what I always say with 8th house people is that they tend to go through periods of time or eras, you can call them eras in their life, where when they look back on those eras, they feel like completely different people than they were before. So that probably resonates. Like to know if that resonates. Wait for a second. So you got to follow up. So yeah, make sure you take notes during this, and to remind me of the important points to talk about in the follow up, which you can schedule. It's up to you to schedule that. Just message me whenever you're ready. Everyone's ready at their own time. But yeah, sun in the 8th house. There's a lot of like this transcend, like this whole like transcendence, right? Where you're really trying to transcend your ego. And really this urge to go deep into the mysteries of life, as I said before, and kind of like it's like the metaphor. And people that are 8th house suns, they're meant to evolve. They're really here. So it can be difficult when they're in a family that's more traditional. Maybe I feel like a lot of the 8th house people that I've met. And 1 second, I'm pulling something up. A lot of the 8th house people that I've met in my life, and this is fascinating to me, tend to come, and myself included, from families that are more like that are less like spiritual, less like less similar to them, right? So it's almost like they have to like navigate that early environment to I guess I could search it here. Navigate that early environment to it adds extra like gasoline on that whole transformation thing. Okay, search 8th house notes. That's sexy. My phone is so sexy when I take the case off. I only do it when I'm at home because I know it's just gonna break. I mean, I'm careful, but I just love the way it looks when I take the case off. Okay, where is this? I'll find it in the next 20 seconds. Okay, here it is. So, okay, I'm gonna. It's kind of long to read. When did I post it? 2222. Oh my god, I keep seeing that number. Okay, I'm gonna send you this, and you may have already seen this post by me, but I don't know if you have because I don't really know how long you've been following me, and it's important for you to see this post. And even if you've already seen it, maybe you haven't. So come on a little bit further. I think I reposted it since then, but I'm not sure. I wish it was easier on Instagram for me to just like search my posts, like just like type in like a keyword and it would somehow know. But nope. I can't complain. I love the way Instagram's set up. Okay, so it's here we are around the date. Come on. Sorry for the interruption, but this happens sometimes. Okay. Should be getting close. I feel getting close. What the heck? Okay, here we go. So send this to you, my 8th house people. All right, sending, like, this will make sense. This will make sense when you hear messaging you. the reading, which I am recording now. So yeah, basically like you can take great power. It's very secretive too. It's very intense. It's very scorpionic, regardless of the sign. So they take great power from the esoteric, and yeah, it's also relates to like loans, inheritances, like the people that marries finances, stuff like that, right? Yeah, like it's very related to death. So a lot of people, they're very eighth house, like they have like psychic abilities, like the gates, the other realms are open, while for other people it's closed. But then the fact that it's in Gemini is very interesting, because it's like Gemini is like like I literally just talked about in my post. I wrote like a significator of a introverted person is to have lots of planets in the 8th or 4th house. But then I wrote like in parentheses, but like of course it's gonna be different if it's like a 8th house sun in Gemini or Leo compared to like an 8th house sun in like Cancer or whatever the fuck, Scorpio or whatever I wrote. So in Gemini, it's gonna give a lot of lightness, and it's gonna provide a lot of communication, and a real need to shine in this area of light, and bring light to this area of life that's a little bit more dark, and not dark in the sense of it's like bad, but like you'll be very like able to communicate your shadow aspects, like the parts of yourself that might be difficult for someone who might have their sun in Cancer, right, or their sun in Pisces, like me. It might be easier for you, especially with, well, I have Mercury there too, so we both have this in common. But it might be easier for you to like kind of go deep within the emotions. But this is the thing. This is like the kind of warning sign, because of the not you have water ascendant, but having an air moon, is that it might be difficult to really feel into the emotions. And the chart's asking where's the North Node. It's in Aquarius. Okay, so it's yeah. So it might be a little bit difficult for you to actually fully feel the emotions, because air moons, like your moon in Aquarius in the 4th house, yeah, it's once again it's kind of a similar energy, right? Where it's like it's in the air sign, but at the same time it's in a water house. So the arena of life, you feel very emotionally safe and within the home structure. And family, big emotional attachment to family, to the past. Even as an Aquarius, which is very future oriented, there can be like kind of a push and pull between like nostalgia, early family life, which you probably have a great connection to, and the past, or in the future, excuse me, which is Aquarius and Sag, like the two very future oriented signs. So basically, like in terms of like the metaphor I always give of the ship, it's like if your sun, your moon represent like this, you're like these two different captains on the ship that is your life in the ocean. Your two captains are going the same direction. It's not like one ship that's going two different directions, right? Where there needs to be some reconciliation. It's like you're going one way. And that way is a mix of water and and fire, or excuse me, and air. So a mix of being able to communicate. When we simplify it, how can I communicate, and how can I not be too much in the logical mental space and too much in the airy idea space, and bring myself back down to the more intuitive areas. So this can be really good for studies of like of things like astrology, psychology, whatever it is that gets, even just like doing your own shadow work, whether it's through therapy, of your own healing, whatever it is. But and then with a Cancer, I get this hit of like something related to like the ancestors, a connection with them, even though Aquarius wouldn't really signify that, but really like a push in this lifetime to be more oriented towards the collective needs. Although in the 4th house, it's also a push towards being more emotionally like, so that's the test, right? Because an Aquarius moon, I always say they sometimes can have this like on and off switch with their emotions. Where like something happens, let's say the person with the Cancer moon feels that shit right away, they cry, but they meet their own emotional needs. The Aquarius moon people can sometimes distrust emotions and be very emotionally aloof. They're very funny. I've noticed I've found lots of like Aquarius moon or just Aquarius people in general to be very funny, and Gemini too. So you probably have a good sense of humor. Maybe it's a very dark sense of humor with the 8th house there. But yeah, like that's kind of overall like what is shown is that airiness, right? So having a lot of air in your chart, you're really easily able to balance like different conflicting concepts. Like you're able to be very versatile in kind of your worldview and you know, meeting people from with different views of life and being very open-minded, which is so what I love so much about air people, right? Especially Aquarius, where they're very open-minded, they're very humanitarian. So as an Aquarius moon, there's an emotional need, and the reason I can speak as quickly as I usually speak quickly, like I'm very, very fast talker. Sometimes I slow down. It's just more efficient. But the reason I know I can speak, by the way, faster, I always look at the Mercury sign of the person. And when I see Mercury unaspected in Gemini, I know that's someone who can just take in info. They're just they're just analytical. They just have this ability with their brain to just you know, take notes and be very, very cognitively on a high level. So that's why I'm able to do this. But back to what I was saying, and also make lots of connections. So you know, with Moon Aquarius, yeah, like trusting logic over emotions. So that's one question we have to talk about is like the interplay between trusting the felt in your body or, you know, in your heart chakra, trusting like the emotional body, the which is feminine, it's irrational, it can't really be explained. You know how sometimes we cry and we're like, why the fuck am I crying? You know? I don't really cry much, but like, you know, when I do, it's very fucking random. It's like, and it's never uncontrollable. It's just like, it's very like, it's not like when you think like if someone only cries a number of times each year and they're very like small cries, it's like, it's not when you think, you know? So that could be it. Like the crying, when you do cry, that could give you lots of clues, or when you do have really strong like emotional you know, like feelings in your heart, like really, really like sad energies, like that can give many clues. So more with Aquarius moon. I need a haircut so freaking bad. I have noted down. But yeah, so more with Aquarius moon, there's so I talked about the detachment piece, which can be really weird in relationships and cause relationship issues because they can almost, you would expect them based on how humanitarian they are to be and how much they care about causes, how much they're willing to go the extra mile, unlike any other sign. You know, Virgo maybe a close second, but no one's like Aquarius. You know, like one of my best friends who I haven't heard from, she's a fucking Aquarius in 6 or 7 months. Hopefully she's still alive, which I literally need to fucking ask her mom if she's alive. Like, isn't that crazy? And that's like Aquarius, the epitome of Aquarius. Like the fact that you have to ask, and Aquarius can just disappear. 1 second, I just need to write this message really quickly before I forget. 1 sec. One sec. I'm saying also, is your daughter still alive? I haven't been blowing her up I haven't been messaging or messaging that much or calling at all, but when I do, never an answer, period. Don't tell her that I told you to, that I told you, please don't, I should probably, don't worry, this doesn't go against the time of the reading, just so you know. Please don't tell her that I told you to, maybe I should pause it. Can I pause this? Yeah, I should just pause this. Okay, I'm back. I had to do that or I was going to forget. And I just, my friend is alive. Anyways, okay. So as I was saying about Aquarius Moon, they need freedom so much also. That's another part about Aquarius Moon is that they're very unconventional. And in fact, actually, I was, okay, before the freedom part, let's talk about what I was saying about the relationship thing, is that you think because they're so humanitarian, they're so like involved with like saving animals, saving the world, like doing charitable stuff with like no thought for any like personal gain and acknowledgement. You'd think that they'd be better, like in terms of their relationships and the closeness and the vulnerability, but they're not. They suck. A lot of them do. Now we're definitely going to go into the fact that you have, your Venus square Pluto. This is, or excuse me, your Moon square Pluto. This is the most impactful and most important, not part of your own chart. I mean, maybe it is. It's up there. It's by far the most important aspect of your chart. I mean, you have Mars square Uranus also. Let's see the degreeage. I guess it's 5 degrees. Yeah, I guess I would say the Mars square Uranus and then square Neptune, which I'm guessing are together. Yeah, Mars square Neptune square Uranus square Neptune is also, especially Mars square Uranus is huge. And Venus opposite Pluto. Wow. Okay, so that means there's a T square, T square, T square, T square. Yeah. Okay. Wow. T square between Venus, Moon, and Pluto / ascendant. That's huge. Okay, we have to talk about that. Okay, I'm just going through. Okay, so you do have a number of important aspects. But basically, yeah. So Moon. So this is what's interesting. I'm gonna kind of be like weaving like all like kind of in different directions. But basically, so Aquarius Moon, they need freedom. And when it comes to relationships, they can have difficulty with like getting close and all that. But your chart's asking you to like get more in like deep with your own feminine side, with your own emotional side. But like you're having air is masculine, and being a air, sun, and moon is very masculine, right? So then with your moon, you have a square with Venus, which your Venus is in a beautiful placement in Taurus on the descendant. Does not get better for Venus. It's like in dignity, meaning that it works best in Libra and Taurus, and it's on the descendant, the best angle. Like, so you have a super strong Venus, like full points for Venus. The only thing missing out on it is that like if you had like let's say like a Libra, it wouldn't be possible if you had Libra rising, but like if it was like your ruling planet, but literally like in Venus doesn't make any. Yeah, and it makes all. The only thing that makes it difficult is the square, the opposition with Pluto. But basically, like, and we'll get more into it. Like your emotional needs of freedom within relationships is at odds with your like kind of this more sensual nature to yourself when you're in relationships. This sense of being more like wanting more closeness, more physical, like sensual closeness, sexual closeness. Like it's not that Aquarius moon is not sexual, but they can have periods of like high sexuality and then asexuality. And not to give too much full disclosure, I'm an Aquarius, Mars, and Venus, and I definitely have that. Like just throwing it out there. But then with you with Mars and Aries, not to talk too much about sex, that all flies out the window. That is extremely sexual. Yeah, very, very sexual energy. Mars and Aries. I made a meme the other day where it was these Jamaican people. You probably saw my story. You probably got a laugh out of that. They're just like going crazy on stage, like jumping on each other, like these like Jamaican like showman dancers, like such aggressive, like kind of sexual kind of like it was a show. It wasn't a sex show. It was just like a dancing kind of crazy dancing. With men and women. But yeah, anyways, okay. So basically that's that. Moon square Pluto, that's very difficult for the emotions. So even though it's not Neptune, I can imagine there being like emotional issues, especially when young, around wait, hold up. What just happened? 1 second. Huh. Okay. But yeah, Moon square Pluto, basically so there's this huge archetype of Pluto in your chart, right? Which makes you very like scorpionic. So it's on your ascendant, which should I talk about that first? I already kind of gave some information about having Pluto on the ascendant, which basically makes it so like even though so as a Scorpio rising, we'll get into this, then we'll get into the square, right? Because I want to kind of combine like the sun, moon, and big three. And I don't really go into sun signs here at Jesse It's in astrology. It just isn't really like worth my time. You know about how Gemini is versatile. You know about it's very multi-talented, very talkative, very communicative. I don't really like feel the need to go into that. But all those Gemini traits kind of go into that eighth house, so it becomes like a more deep type of Gemini. But basically, like Pluto in the ascendant together, it creates a very powerful person. So already as a Scorpio rising, you tend to be someone who like has this like very like powerful aura. Like when you step into a crowded room, people notice you, even if you're like not the most talkative person. And as a Gemini, you probably are talkative, but you're probably this is another thing I want to know in the follow up is like, how do you do with small talk? Like, because like eighth house is like very allergic to small talk, but Gemini is very good at the small talk. So maybe you're someone that's able to tolerate it, but you prefer to talk a lot about subjects that are actually interesting to you. That's what my guesses. So one word to conclude Pluto on the ascendant is magnetism, right? And sometimes it can be so it's such a powerful energy that you can be somewhat unconscious of, like not like fully understanding of it, but it's in your first house. So yeah, it just gives your outer mask these very like alluring qualities, and very mysterious energy, right? And it's mesmerizing, right? Usually very beautiful eyes. People can get really nervous around you, and they don't know why, but it's because that Plutonic Scorpio like witch energy. And so what can happen is that it can make and Pluto is also about power, so it can make people get really competitive with you, right? It can make people like hate you for no fucking reason because they're jealous, right? This happens to Scorpios a lot, or people who have lots of Scorpio, or who eighth house, whatever. Is that people don't know why, but they're like, fuck that girl, or fuck that guy, because like there's this real power energy, and people have huge egos. So when they feel like someone is naturally exuding this like confidence and this power, they get jealous. So yeah, there's lots of interesting energy where people like they want to be around you, but they don't know really why, and they gravitate towards you. So it's common in lots of famous people's charts. Jay-Z, Beyonce are two random ones I looked up lately that both had this. And Scorpio rising, you're gonna come across in a way that's way more in tune with your eighth house and fourth house. So you're gonna come off and you're gonna look very, very deep. So you are very, very deep. So that's actually very good for your chart, right? But then people, when they get to know you, will be surprised that you're a little bit more like require lots of space in relationships, and a little bit more talkative than they would expect once you get to know them. But maybe the Gemini takes over right away. I'm not really sure. That's something we have to kind of measure and talk about in our follow-up. Once again, it's another indication of like very, very private, like you're a very private person, especially for a Gemini. So some people might see you as like secretive, and this is I'm setting this up for like some of the squares and the oppositions with Pluto, right? They might see you as kind of secretive and stuff like that. And it gives you a very, very intense energy, which can sometimes be a little bit forceful. And you have to watch out for the word power. Like, what does that mean? That word mean to you, right? Because people sometimes that have this, they try to dominate situations, dominate people too much. Another thing that can have happen, like with Pluto being like a very karmic planet, is you could have been like born during like a very turbulent time for your parents. Like there maybe was like a traumatic event around your birth. Also about your body, there can be like this can talk about like some type of like trauma as a child where you felt powerless in some type of way. Not necessarily like anything like sexual. I mean, it is in Scorpio, but like that's just because everyone born within the 14-year period was Pluto and Scorpio. But it could just mean that like you felt like like your sense of ego was like kind of broken down at an earlier age. And one of the best fixes for this is like doing something like martial arts, where you really get like feeling like you can defend yourself, feeling like you can like have your own back. What else? One thing that's interesting about this, or just diving into some old notes here, is that a lot of times people who have this have an issue with like one of their parents, and a lot of times they have some noticeable physical feature that they share with that same parent they have the issue with. So very interesting. And I've heard people confirm that. It's another indicator of that death, rebirth, transformation, and it's not an external. So the world actually gets to see that. It's not just like that you internally go through. It's like the world sees your your extreme. Like moderation isn't something you do well, right? So you might always be trying to fix things within yourself, right? Which can be an obsession. With some people have to watch out for, like always trying to fix. Sometimes not everything. Sometimes you have to like let God. And that's part of the death, rebirth, transformation, where you're like allowing the divine force, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, to letting go control and letting that be the fixing aspect, right? So yeah, it's all about like letting go, not trying to have complete control over your life, and yeah, learning moderation. That's what it is, right? And learning like not to control other people. And the whole lesson around it is that life is okay without control. Now, how does this link to your moon square Pluto? Well, moon square Pluto, it is giving so it is a T square. So you have the Venus. Wait, hold up. What was it again? It was fixed. Okay, yeah. So it was Venus opposite this Pluto / ascendant, Venus / descendant. So that one, maybe I'll start with that one because and finish off the T square. So Venus in the 7th house it's very, very relationship oriented. It's like, I will give so much for my partner. I see so much like beauty in my partner. I'm there for my partner. I want a reliable partner. I value someone who's there for me physically, emotionally, mentally, all these different things. Someone who's consistent, right? Now when Pluto comes there, opposing Venus, you have to watch out. It adds like a very intense attraction in relationships, like from like either way, that you can be very, very drawn. Like I have this square, so I know this well, where you can be very, very drawn to like a particular type of person, particular like very karmic like attractions, right? You can't really explain them, and they can almost be really dark or dangerous. So basically, like to sum this up, to not get too deep into it because it can go very, very deep. We can talk more about this in follow up. You can make a note to talk more about this. Is that Venus has to do with self-love. So when the person, you're born in the same year as me, so you're probably like discovering this like around now or maybe like years earlier. But basically, like before you discover this, until you learn self-love, which maybe for you in your chart, maybe we'll talk about the square of Pluto next, and we'll see what that says about all this. But like, you will attract very dark. You can attract very dark partners. So whenever that Pluto scar, is, which we'll talk about later, in more detail, if that's not resolved, kind of like the trauma around the body, trauma around the self of identity, stuff like that, the shadow work that's resolved to like everything I just said about Pluto conjunct the ascendant, you can really attract like the wrong type of partners. Once self-love is learned, it makes it so you have very, very romantic, like two souls becoming one, twin flame style relationships, just to use a word of reference, twin flame. So, but it makes one very, very intrigued by the mystery, by the darker kind of people, right? It creates, once again, more mysterious energy. But yeah, it makes it so you experience your shadow and your real darkness within relationships. That's where you get tested, right? Fucking, is that still true for me with the square? Yeah, it is. So like life. So with it as an Aquarius moon, when we put the puzzle together, you might sometimes feel like when you're in relationships, you might be like, fuck, this is so much goddamn work. Even if you love the person, you might be like, God, this is so much work. I'm like, when I'm alone, I'm all good. But then when you're alone too much, you're like, fuck, like being alone, like why can't there be a balance? Why can't there be a balance, right? But like it's through like these close one-on-one relationships that you learn to not hold on so tight, to let go, to let go control, lose control, right? Lots of drama, especially early in the early relationships. And you have to watch out for not letting yourself be manipulated. But I don't see that being an issue for you because you're not like, you don't seem like you're definitely like have that lie detector built in. That Mars and Aries is like, don't fuck with the energy. Like, yeah. But yeah, in some issues, like there can be domestic violence. Even the R word could have happened with this energy. So and yeah, like I said, you can be really attracted to like dangerous people because Pluto rules like the underworld, dark magic, crime, mafia, all that kind of stuff, right? But like the thing is, you don't have to go into the underworld to unlock all the wisdom that's found there. You can access that through high spirituality, meditation, astrology, all the good eighth house stuff. Eighth house stuff, which is the whole metaphor of the snake shedding the skin, the death, rebirth, transformation. And in the end, you transform your life and you transform your relationship style and into one that's way more based on the higher energy of these two planets, which is like I said, soul bonding relationships, like such loyalty, all that. Now, okay, the square. So we're completing this, right? So we see opposition. So and it gets out at 20 Leo. So that on the midheaven, interesting. So this is a very particular T square because every single one, an angle is like, I'm gonna share again, just really briefly, just to exemplify how fucking nuts this is. I've never seen this. So here, right? So ascendant Pluto conjunct, right? 13, 15. Ascendant Pluto. Square moon, right? This is a square, 90 degrees. IC, which is the south, the most south angle, 24 Aquarius, Moon 20 Aquarius. Square descendant, which is the furthest east, even though it looks like it's west. Excuse me, it's west, even though it looks like it's east. Which is the conjunct Venus. So all these planets on angles are very, very strong. So what happens with the T-square, and I'm just showing this, it's like a bow and arrow, right? It's like there's an opposition here between these two, and then there's a square between, the moon is squaring both sides, right? So the resolution is like a bow and arrow. It shoots at the opposite of the moon, right? Like, so the moon's at 20 Aquarius, so that bow and arrow shoots boom, 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 right at 20 Leo, which is where your midheaven, aka career, aka your dharma is. So we'll get into that. This is super interesting. You see how astrology, like, it's fucking magic. So, you know, I want to say also the fact that you have these planets on angles, it's going to increase the planetary strength. Like, it's going to, the moon on the angle, it's going to increase your emotional strength. The Venus on the angle, it's going to increase your ability to love yourself and love others. Pluto on the ascendant, it's going to increase your ability to have that powerful presence, as I already explained. Now, okay, so moon, I like to break down the T-squares one by one, right? So basically, like, it's about control. Like that's literally the essence. We've seen how it is. It shows up in your relationships. It shows up in your emotional life now, and in how you present yourself. It shows up in your relationships with Venus, how your personality, how you present yourself with your ascendant. Now in your emotional inner life with the moon square, and this is the one that's most important. And basically, why does my camera look like? 1 second. Oh, I see. There's something that was on it. It was like very hard to see. Not like something crazy, but now it's way more clear. Okay, cool. I think so. So, with the moon square Pluto, and I've seen this in so many charts, it gives very compulsive, like unstable emotional life, right? Dark emotions, self-destructive behaviors, like the keywords are like emotional crises. It was very difficult, especially when young. You know, psychological self-analysis is literally what's needed to uncover the root of all the emotional pain, which is very subconscious because it's the moon, which is hidden, right? And you'll have like these emotional reactions that come from such a hidden place, and then you're like, fuck, like what just happened? Because you have Mars in Aries, which is like one of the most like assertive but also like impulsive energies in all of astrology. You might do stuff that you regret, right? So yeah, this is especially difficult when growing up. It's like as if your moods and instincts are always sabotaging your relationships in other areas of life. A lot of times it's linked to like, you know, family, home, intimate relationships. So you'll have to tell me like which one that was. Sometimes a lot of times, like with this one, there's like, you know, moon represents the mother. There can be like an obsessive kind of like power bearing mother sometimes. So that's one potential. But yeah, basically, yeah, there can also be like I already mentioned the word ancestor once during this reading, so this is like the second time I'm mentioning ancestor, which is always a clue. There could be like some ancestral reasons of you being the one who's breaking this like ancestral karma. A lot of my clients are people who do that because they're very, very deep people, especially, you know, from countries like Bosnia. You know, I've lived in the Balkans for nearly 4 years now. I know what it's like. I know the mindset, right? I've been to Bosnia before. I know people from there. I know people from all those countries. I know the mindset, right? Not that it's similar in all these countries. It's similar. It's not the same. It's similar. It's very traditional. So yeah, like very, very private. Like very, very, even though you're an Aquarius moon, there's this push and pull between like forming like really close bonds with people and then pulling back, right? So there can be like this smothering energy, this energy of like that this person is the be all it all, or no, like the it all be all, like they are the king, they are the god. And then when they like putting people on a pedestal, and then like when they disappoint, it's like boom, like it can be very, very dark. So yeah, basically like your emotional nature, like it's from past lives. It takes you into your own underworld, and you're experiencing some of the darker sides of human nature. So yet, if you have any shame about how you were growing up, different like kind of messed up experiences you went through, like this is your karma. This is what you're meant to go through, right? And it's all about this big evolutionary leap, right? um every time you become consciously aware and heal one of the issues, the psychological issues, you're growing. You're taking on the kind of what I said before of like the eighth house evolution, right? But yeah, it's very, very compulsive. And it can also create someone who's very, very powerful, but who's also, as I said before, like sometimes always like working on themselves almost to an obsessive manner. Um, Also, you got to watch out for like substance abuse and you know stuff like that, because there can just be like such an intense. Some people with like borderline personality disorder, it's common. I would think like moon. I would think I know with moon Pluto, moon Uranus, like hard aspects. Like there can be like borderline, but it's not always the case. It's just like it creates a very like a need for therapy. It's like the karmic impetus. Therapy, right? And there's a big need also to reevaluate the events from childhood, like within the healing context, and you and just yeah, that's a lot of healing can come from that. Um, and yeah, like basically like the emotional nature is at conflict with the inner security. So like imagine slash desire for control. So it all goes back to this desire for control. Um, so like it's like a lot of times it shows up as like someone who's like forcefully trying to make other people change. There can be anger issues. Um, and also there can be real big issues with like hanging on to like pain and hurts like forever, and like having like so many resentments towards people who hurt you in the past and not being able to let them go. Um, so yeah, it's all about just reprogramming the emotions and learning the letting go. Um, Therapy is always a need. So the way it shoots out is on the midheaven, in Leo. And so what is Leo midheaven at 24 Leo? Well, that has to do with shining bright in the sense of your authentic self-expression. So when you're able to find like a career or a dharma, a life path, where you're able to like get all that dark energy out and turn it into light. So even if it feels very, very dark, um, if you're able to do something that is using your true heart, like really like everything that's inside you're getting out, um, it is extremely positive, right? And being an Aquarius moon, you're gonna have a humanitarian kind of focus potentially, right? But the sun ruling the midheaven means that like you might be someone who's a psychologist, someone who's some type of healer, someone who gains higher awareness through their deep conversations. Like you have the perfect chart for a psychologist. I get a lot of people that I say that to because you're a healer, psychologist, because I mean you're drawn to me for a reason, right? You're probably a natural born healer, especially with that conjunction of very close conjunction, exact conjunction, wow, of Jupiter, which makes everything bigger and better, and Chiron, which is the wounded healer. So, speaking of those two, there could be wounds within your family, which goes back to the whole ancestral like family karma stuff, right? Um, and maybe you might be someone who with that energy of the ninth house, who has to travel to different countries or different cultures and learn different philosophies. Maybe you're living creating like a sort of distance to kind of like to kind of facilitate that healing. But yeah, healing can still be done from anywhere. So yeah, interesting about that. As I said before, Sun unaspected, so you're really able to express that Gemini part of yourself like with real no holdback. So sometimes with an unaspected Mercury and unaspected Sun, you have to like really like be very self-aware of like when you're talking too much potentially. Even though it's a Scorpio rising, you might like be more the person that kind of like looks around before kind of like budging in. But that's typically like people that have Mercury unaspected. It means that there's no checks and balances in terms of like how they speak, how they think. So they can be very it can make that area of life very good, but there has to be some self-awareness around. But with that said, you can turn that into a plus where you're using communication and your ability to have like to continuously talk and continuously think as in a job / career where that's needed, right? Many people don't have that ability. They get really burnt out really easily. And the fact that you have Mars, a planet, that leftover animal instinct, that planet of power, of passion in a fire sign in its best placement and dignity in Aries, that basically means that you, and it has lots of squares, so let's pull back, but basically, in the 6th house, it means that you're able to really channel, you're able to really go after what you want. And it's very sexual energy. I'm just going to say it. Very athletic energy. You're someone who probably gets you need to work out. You need to have a physical outlet, running, like taekwondo, whatever the fuck it is, working out. You need it because you have there can be lots of pent up energy with the Aries Mars. They have so much. When I say sexual energy, I mean like spirit energy, like sexual energy is you know what I mean. It's referred to as sexual energy, but it's not about just sex. It's about just like the life force. So you have a lot of it. So finding a good channel for it, because sometimes people who have that, they burn it out and they do different things like smoke a lot of weed, or they find like less healthy long-term ways to. Nothing wrong with weed. I mean, there is some stuff wrong with it, but in excess. But yeah, that's very important. So yeah. Okay. So you'll be very lucky with your relationships. Where did that book go? You'll have like lots of popularity. It will not be, even though you do have those things going on, it won't be an issue for you. In terms of like friendships, because you have this beautiful sextile between Mercury and Venus, which is just amazing. Like it's just very good for all relationships. Love is easily expressed. And it's also really good for money luck. So that's very good. And then Venus and Neptune, that's like the ultimate combination of like heightened creativity, like this real link between being able to be like an artist, like the person that can paint, and the person that receives like the inspiration, right? So also very good for interest in mysticism, and yeah, like very good artistic potential. But there's a need for a firm direction, basically. And I already talked about the sun and moon, like well-integrated personality, adaptable to others, tends to have harmonious home life, gets promotions and job. Just filling in some blanks here. Okay. And then yeah, Venus, like just to add to like the Venus and Pluto, reversals in love, attachments broken, strong sexual feelings, but sexual relationships cause difficulties. That's the one I already talked about. Was ascendant even listed in here? I like these because it's a very like kind of like bite size, Like I kind of give the longer versions and they give me like little bite size ones. No, there's no ascendant. Whatever. Ascendant's more like, it's more about like conjunctions to the ascendant. I mean, yeah, squares matter, but they're going to be typically, not all the time, but the square is a lot of times, not always, but they'll be close to the midheaven sometimes. It really depends. But anyways, okay. Yeah, so that's kind of that. Venus and Taurus, you can really meet your emotional, your like I already talked about, like you value stability, you value reliability, romance. For you, romance and reliability go hand in hand. It's like a slow and steady approach to relationships. You want someone who, like I said, where there's sensuality, security, solid. Also, Venus in this sign loves money. Venus in Taurus loves money, and in the seventh house, as I said before, it gives you like the real ability to have harmonious relationships, even with that Pluto opposition, and to see the best in your partners. So that's a very, very great placement where you're able to like compliment and see the good sides of your partners. Some people have it where they only see the ugly parts. Once you're able to kind of get through the kind of like energy of the Pluto and the square at the moon, right? Because the Venus with the square at the moon, let me see what it says here with that. Careful, self-indulgent, moody disappointments in love affairs. So you see how but these get a lot easier. There's lots of that in your chart, but they get a lot easier. And overall, like once these difficult aspects get like kind of moved past, it's very, very good for that, right? So okay. Mars and Aries, it's just like that's like what lots of like very athletic people have, that very strong drive to initiate ideas and activities, very pioneering energy. You think and you go. So it kind of like your chart's ruled by Mars, so it's a very strong planet, and it's in dignity, which makes you have like a very, very strong Mars assertiveness function, as I call it, right? Very spontaneous, risk, someone who takes risks, right? But you have to watch out for being accident prone, right? There's some water. It can also make one very impulsive and kind of talk or act before they think. So this is the thing with your chart. As an Aquarius moon, you can be like separated from your emotions, right? And you can do things like and not realize the emotional impact until like later, and then you're like, oh fuck, I did that. So it's lots of like self-refinement that's needed with that. I love like Mars in the sixth house. Like, I mean, it's great for approaching life with this like this what's the word? This passion to everyday life, like routine. Even like daily exercise. It's very, very good for that. You'd be a very, very good worker. Someone who, if you're employed, you'd most likely be someone that does very good as long as you have like a eighth house. As long as there's a link to your job, you're someone who can really organize their daily life to meet their needs and to meet, not their needs, to meet what their like career needs are. Yeah, so it's like really, really good for someone who, like, I have my Saturn here, and I credit a lot of that to my organization. So like they know the steps it takes to like get things like to accomplish what they need to accomplish, right? They know that each day I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this to get long term to this, right? But this is the thing, because there are some difficult aspects, there can be lots of quarrels and lots of like issues with people at work if you do work. If you're like someone who's very argumentative, what can happen is that there can be like diseases or just like health issues that come from like not being able to get that energy out. That's why it's so important for you to have that like that physical outlet. In terms of health astrology, which I'm not a health astrologer, but just like in general, it can indicate inflammatory disorders and high fevers. There can be migraines, like the health can be affected by like easily by sudden rushes. So yeah, like anything that can make the blood temperature rise. You have to watch out for that. But this is the thing that's interesting, is that your health is super linked to your anger, and conflicts at work will really affect you, right? So it's so important, as you can imagine, that you have the correct work environment, and that if it's not worth it, that you leave. If the people, if the environment and the people around you are causing that, it can be really, really bad long term. So yeah, learning, like, if you have anger issues, anger management, not being not taking your work so seriously, and also people that have natal Mars can sometimes have like a love for like aggressive animals, maybe like a pit bull, or like a, they might prefer to have like an angry dog than like a friendly little schmook, or like a little chihuahua or something. So yeah, definitely to look out for. So okay, Mars. So we've got some aspects here with Mars. We've got 3 squares, and they're called, okay, so there's a T-square, another one. So it's going to be Mars, Uranus / Neptune, and Chiron / so Jupiter / so this one shoots out at 9 Libra in the 12th house. Interesting. How do I break this one down? Okay, so basically, let's start with the more important side. Well, actually, so Mars and Jupiter can make one like overly enthusiastic, very impulsive, kind of extremist in terms of like how they kind of put themselves out there in the world, and yeah, just like take lots of risks, very extravagant, and yeah, like just you like the whole risk taking thing, like over risk taking can be to detriment. So that's got to be worked out through, or worked out. Yeah, just like thinking that you won, like anything with like the square with Saturn, and like the inner planet, like Sun, Mars, Sun. It's like the energy of like walking into the casino and thinking you won no matter what, right? And especially as someone that has a Mars in that super assertive sign of Aries, you can see how that could happen, right? So Mars in so squaring, and then also it's squaring Chiron. That basically would just indicate that there's pain, spiritual pain that comes from when you're trying to be assertive, and when things go wrong, as I just kind of how I just mentioned, how there can be some pain and some feeling of like, can I do it? Like some doubting yourself, and creating some shame around times where you've been impulsive and you've taken risks that didn't really work out. So then with Uranus, which I'm going to go way deeper in, overall it can create very impatient energy. This is like the volcanic energy. The 2 most volcanic places, if you saw my chart, are Mars in hard aspect to Pluto, and then also Uranus. So you have with Uranus, right? So like it can make someone very combative, very intolerant. So you also have Black Moon Lilith, right? So I need to make my own post, man, because like the last Black Moon Lilith post I made was like I guess like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I just like I just like took all this information from the site, like when I was like 2 or 3K, 4K followers. I have no idea, but I need to make my own Black Moon Lilith post where it's like all my words. But basically, like, my way of seeing Black Moon Lilith is like that's like the negative potential. It doesn't always show up. It's a negative potential. It's like the self-defeating behavior that only shows up for us when we let it, or like when we're in our lower vibe. So in Sag, that's like over dogmatism, right? Like always thinking you're right, always thinking like not willing to budge, like being very stubborn when it comes to like your philosophies, right? So with the state, it can be the state. It's similar with the Mars square Uranus, where they can be very intolerant And yeah, very, very, also like the key word is impatient. And then Mars square Neptune, you got to watch out for the substances. Let's go deeper into here. But like, yeah, Mars square Neptune. There can be this proneness, this kind of tendency towards negative escapism, right? Things like drugs, alcohol, whatever. We all have addictions, right? But like some people's are healthier than others, right? So alcohol is definitely a big one for this Mars and Neptune together. Like poisoning, you have to watch out for poisoning yourself. So a lot of people that have Mars Neptune, I talk to them like people who are my clients, and they'll. It's interesting to me how many of them are like, I just never drank alcohol. I always knew that it just maybe I got drunk a few times. I just never knew, it just never was good for me. Like I knew that it would just destroy me, and they just decide not to drink, which is always so mature. So I'm very curious about how that is for you. Alcohol, any substances, right? Just got water in my eye. Another thing about the Neptune and Mars is that there can be this oversensitivity and wasting energy in hopeless causes. Yeah. So okay, Mars square Uranus, like I said, it's like a lightning bolt energy. Where once again, you're torn between this need for freedom and a feeling of safety and security. So what was I just gonna say? Very, very impulsive. So like I said before, I do have 2 masters in psychology, but that doesn't make me a psychologist, but means I know a thing or two about psychology, or lots about psychology, and astrology also. And when I see hard aspects between, I'm not saying you have borderline personality disorder, but this can show up in some of the traits of borderline, which is the real instability and the kind of up and down, and it basically you're like a Ferrari, where it's you really you have to learn to control yourself, right? And the lessons around that are can be very difficult, right? Very creative energy though, super inventive, but it can also be dangerous. So it's just it's like a volcano. It's like a nuclear reactor, it's like a nuclear plant where it can create genius inventions, but it can also have some it's just raw explosive energy that needs to be safely harnessed. So and very against rules. You don't give a shit about the rules, especially in Aquarius moon. There's an emotional need to be individualistic, to be your own person, right? So yeah, it's all about learning how to contain this. I said it can be like a genius energy, and learning to channel it through a creative and in something creative. Whether it's writing can be great. Whatever your creative thing is, that's where and also the whole physical thing, right? Like sweating it out, really taking yourself and sweating it out. Whether that's hiking, or actually going on intense runs and workouts. But a very rebellious energy. But what was I gonna say? Okay, I was gonna see one thing: air, water, earth. Okay, so you have every element. Bravo. So I'll give you that speech. But yeah, so then Mars and Neptune, besides that, sometimes people that have this can like I said, fight for causes that just there's they do want to, it is very self-sacrificial energy. And they sometimes can give themselves to causes that it creates lots of bravery, right? And really like it adds to that Aquarius mood of wanting to fight for worthy causes. But like I always say, you have to watch out for that like freaking escapist energy, right? It's very Piscean in that sense, right? And also like discouragement, like when you go through losses, it can create someone who can like, there can be like a self-victimization pattern, which I don't really know if I see that with the rest of your chart, but you'll have to let me know. And being very hard on yourself. So yeah. Always with this one, you have to watch out for like talking behind people's back, because there's this energy it can create like suspicion that like from other people that like you're talking shit about them. So you have to like really make an extra honest like, or you see, this is like when I get like a little bit tired, or not tired, just like when I'm like further in the reading, I start to like mix up words. You have to make an effort to be honest, like stay away from like the gossip and all that low Gemini stuff, right? And it all goes back to like control, like the whole chart, and just like being able to let go and know that everything will be okay, you know? So, yeah. And not playing the victim when things don't go the way you want them to go. Not that you do that. Not that you do that. Remember, astrology is all probabilities. You can't take one part of the chart in a vacuum. It has to be all looked at with the context of the whole chart. One second. So yeah, that's kind of that. What else can I add about this? Yeah, so like with Mars square Neptune, you have to watch out not to live too much in your fantasy world. But it is very good, like very big on like helping people in need, and there could, oh yeah, thank God I remembered. Magical thinking is a big tendency for this one, right? Magical thinking. So yeah. And as a Gemini rules the hands. Potentially your creative escape is like the guitar or the piano or something where you're using your fingers and your hands. Maybe a sport. I don't know. Okay. And our planets are done. So that's like the most large part of the reading. Now let's fill in the blanks. I already talked about a lot of these. So Jupiter in ninth house, obviously that's like very, very good for learning higher philosophy. It's a very strong placement for traveling. You'll expand a lot through your exposure to different cultures. You expand a lot through your exposure to different philosophies. It's very, very good for higher education and just for like searching for the meaning of life. Like you'll be someone who looks here, looks there, looks here, looks there, looks here, looks there. Jupiter Cancer, you're someone who's going to like really, really look after your loved ones, really want to have like a beautiful family, and even just your family in general. You'll be super defensive of them. So there's going to be there'll be pain, like, but like you'll really, really like have this deep that like I gotta defend them. They're my people. Saturn. Okay, so you have all these. This makes it a lot easier for me. All these in the third house. Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn. So okay, starting with Saturn in the third house, that can make early karmic issues around self-expression, communication. So as a Gemini, that can be very difficult, which pushes you into the eighth house realm because you're like, shit, like I want to get deeper. So around the Saturn return in the last few years, you probably learn to really, really like allow your voice to be heard more, right? So yeah, like your communication may have been like restricted in early childhood. Fear of expressing yourself, that kind of stuff could really come up. But then like through hard efforts comes like a skill in communicating, basically. Which can really, really be helped by like effort, like doing like daily journal stuff like that. Neptune Uranus there, I mean Neptune third house, it's like that's just like you can be the kind of person that like through like you start talking, you start writing or whatever you're doing, and you're connecting to like the other realms. And like you can be an amazing writer, like a very spiritual writer. Like lots of writers have these kind of outer planets in the third house, but also there can be a certain level of mental confusion, a scattered mind. That's something that has to kind of be watched out for. Also with siblings, all these three combinations can create like very interesting. I'm curious. I because there's too many planets, I can't really like give one of them, but if you were to have three siblings, for example, that'd be very interesting because it'd be like maybe one's the Saturn, more responsible one, maybe one's the more Neptunian imaginative one, maybe one's the more Uranus, more like Aquarian, like like beat to be their own drum, individualistic one. But yeah, so like the Neptune, which we both have, born the same year, in Uranus in the third, that just makes someone like a very quick, original thinker, someone that does not base their thought processes on like what's traditional, especially as an Aquarius moon. You see, in your moon being ruled by a planet in the third house means that like there's a very big link between how you communicate and how you think or how you feel. So you'll communicate in a way that's linked to your moon sign, linked to that very, like, even with the Mercury in Gemini, which I didn't really talk about much, right? Besides the fact that's in dignity, and it's a very, very, very strong placement. You'll be someone that wants to communicate in a very individualistic way. And also you like with third house Uranus, like someone who studies like unusual subjects, astrology. Mercury I didn't really touch on as much. I guess I already kind of did. It's pretty obvious. It's like in the eighth house, Mercury people, they're just like they're very keen on exploring like the meaning of life, the undercurrents, the esoteric studies of life, like all the eighth house life after death, sex, all that stuff, right? Anything that's beneath the superficial. And in Gemini, just someone who loves conversation, information, like like a fast talker, as I said before. Someone who likes to like collect data, read a lot. It's very, very good for like any kind of job. And yeah. So vertex, in Gemini, conjunct the sun, your your doorway to higher awareness is going to be through like the highest manifestation of Gemini in the eighth house. So everything I explained before about just like being able to dive deep in the occult, esoteric, and do it in kind of a lighter way and a communicative way. Also in relationships, vertex is like your second ascendant. That's how I look at it. So basically like you'll be someone in relationships that probably comes off as quite fun, quite go with the flow, mutable, all those things, right? And yeah, your descendant in Taurus, once again, that I already said that, like with the Venus in Taurus, it's just like doubling down the need for reliability. And then Juno in Scorpio is saying that again, but it's a different kind of reliability. So on one hand, Juno is like your ideal partner in the first house, and Scorpio is like your ideal partner is someone who is first house, like adventurous, like gives you space, like has their own shit going on, you guys can go on adventures and have fun in life with each other. But in Scorpio, who's someone who you can really like open up to emotionally and be vulnerable with, and who's not going to judge you on any of your moods. This is a very complex chart. This is one of the more complex ones I've had in a while. So very, very happy that you got the follow up, because those are needed. In my belief system, those are needed not needed. Just it makes it a lot better in these situations, for these types of charts, right? Okay. All right. South Node and Leo. I mean, I had that too. It's like past lives in the 10th house. You can bet money that you were like a boss, like very high status 10th house Leo South Node. Come on, that you held a very high status in the past life, and that you might have like entitlement issues, and not issues, but like coming into this life. I know I do. like of kind of thinking so I really had to work on it, like thinking like I just deserve things, you know. And it comes from past lives of being in very high positions, right? In this life, so it becomes karmically less about I and more about we, right? So like a perfect example is me and my business. If I was like trying to make money and like do what some astrologers do, and I get it that like when you get to a certain point in astrology, like you have to charge a high price because it's like, you know, your demand is so high that if that you would just have like a freaking 75-year wait list if you didn't. But there's still a certain level, like a certain like maximum, right? And some astrologers go way too far. And I never want, even if I become, you know, which I will, in my opinion, I think I'll be like a famous astrologer, and is astrologers if astrologers can be famous, I think, which they'll be able to. I think I'll be well known. This is only year 5 and I'm doing quite well, I think. Um Especially lately, I'm proud of myself. Um But I totally just thought out something really random. This is what having a Pisces Mercury does. You just like think about like a weird image, and then you get stuck on the image for a second. They'll come back to me what I was going to say, and it sucks that I was talking about myself. I hate talking about myself in these readings. Probably when I was the first time I really talked to myself. I said I was using myself as an example. Okay, yeah. So if I was doing something that was like purely based on money, on ego, like let's say I started charging people a bunch. I didn't do these like, you know, these things where like you know, like I've been doing every 1,000 followers to give people a chance to like purchase my readings for less than they're worth. Then that wouldn't be good for me. That would affect my karma in a difficult way. If I started just like I was like, fuck that, fuck astrology, I'm gonna do real estate, or I'm just gonna make a bunch of money. I'm gonna focus only on money. Like it wouldn't work for me because I'd be going towards my south node. Not to say that I only cared about money in past lives, but it's about taking your gifts of your south node, this leadership ability, and channeling it into the highest energy of Aquarius, which is like being there for humanity. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We have a follow up, so we can kind of like go further into some of these other things. But yeah, actually, 1 second, I want to look at one other thing. Hold up. Okay, just for sun. 24. Okay. One second. Nine Aries. Okay. Taurus. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we're just gonna finish with the stars. Uh, 20. Ooh, a very good wealth star. Your sun is in an area with lots of stars, lots of very, very, very great stars for wealth. Like Capella is one of the best. And then 15, can't see anything there. 14.58. Okay, that has anything. And then midheaven is C4. Okay, that's it. Okay, let's start. So Cancer, fixed star Canapa. What's your Cancer one again? Jupiter. So let's see. Not all these have explanations. Okay, so Jupiter conjunct Canopus, the fixed star, great pride, religion used for business ends, voyages, honor and preferment, but reversal through public dissatisfaction. It's very family oriented, so it's good, and you get help from others in terms of for your success. And sometimes they don't give back that much to people who help them. They do not harm others, but are simply looking out for themselves. They do not use. Remember, these fixed stars are. This is a minor fixed star. I'll tell you if you have like a major fixed star. Also, it's like they need to develop a good diet plan. They like to eat rich foods. Sometimes they accept whatever food is offered to them. Alnium. So these ones are all around your keep that one out. Let's see what this says. So many stars in this area, it's crazy. So there's Alnima, Mintaka, Elnath. Okay, let's see if Elnath says anything. So Elnath, ecclesiastical preferment, honor through science, religion, or philosophy. Okay, that's one conjunct your sun. Then Mintaka, let's see what that says. Discreet, cautious, somewhat changeable, notoriety, good fortune, lasting happiness. Okay. And then Capella, I already told you that is a wealth star. It also speaks about quick speech. It can make someone misunderstood and criticized, but also honor and wealth, as I told you. Capella, Capella, Capella. And then finally, Alnilam, which I've never heard of. So this one speaks about inheritances, so that could be good for wealth. Good fortune, long-lasting happiness, rash, headstrong. Okay. So it says legacies, inheritances, fame, especially for okay, yeah. So it's good for public honor. So yeah, these are good ones on your sun. Menkar on your Venus, in Taurus. Let's see if there's anything on that. Strong and uncontrollable passions, jealousy, domestic disharmony, and temporary separation, ill health of marriage partner. And then Alganib on your Mars. Let's see if there's anything there. Quick mind and body, lying or theft, danger of accidents. This causes hot flashes around the head and face. These people can feel the heat at times. We talked about this kind of already. Feel heat, so you have to be really careful with temperatures. These people can feel the heat at times at the lips through blisters, rashes, and sores. Surgeries, the gums is not certain. It says sometimes these are off the wall, these descriptions. Let's just say surgery of the gums. I don't want to use the word certain. Nothing's certain in astrology. can happen, but would not solve the problems. The problem would be enhanced at a later time through development of gum disease. So you have to watch out, make sure you do your flossing. Fixed star Castra, that's at 20 Aquarius, where your moon is. Let's see if there's anything with that. It's not such an important one. Nope. Alphecca, that's where your ascendant is. A life spent in a variety of pleasurable pursuits, loves adornments, secretly engaged in love affairs or adultery. A liking for literature, art, and science. Take these all with a little bit of salt. Take a salt besides the Capella one. Artistic talents and also success in trade and commerce. And finally, that's it. Anyways, thanks for the wait. I went longer. I'm trying to keep my readings to like an hour 30. Probably went over that. Hope you enjoyed. This was a very strong, very good reading. Really appreciate you being patient. And wow, and it ended at 222. This is the second time I've seen this. Remember, if you've been following me, you know that this is what's happening to me right now. So it's crazy. Okay. Thank you so much. And I will get this put up. All right. Ciao, ciao, ciao.